Hey everyone, it's Strange Michael. I hope you're doing well today. I'm still continuing my reviews for the Omen franchise in this box set in preparation for the first Omen. Is it next weekend? I think it's next weekend, because I think this weekend is Ghostbusters weekend, but I don't think I'm going to be able to make it out to see that more than likely. My weekend's going to be kind of busy with some household projects. But anyway, Omen box set, first Omen next weekend, whatever. This is a review that is for the third movie in the series from 1981. It's about an hour and 50 minutes. It's called The Omen 3, The Final Conflict, or Omen 3, The Final Conflict, or just The Final Conflict, as this Blu-ray shows on the spine and stuff. Anyway, The Final Conflict. I wasn't sure what to make of this at first because it was like a 5 out of 10 on IMDb. I wasn't really sure what I was going to get myself into. This is a very Bible-centric series, and I was very impressed with that as a Christian, so I was hoping this would be kind of cool. Now, let me tell you, this movie especially deviates from the Book of Revelation quite a bit. Won't get into that too much, but it does. It totally does. So as a Christian, I want to warn you, if you happen to be a horror-loving Christian like myself, be prepared going into that. I wouldn't say you'll be offended by it. It's actually very much on the side of Jesus in this movie, interestingly enough. But it's still fun to watch. It's just as fun, I think, in some respects as Part 1 and Part 2. They kind of got rid of the slasher element. There's not as much blood and gore in this, even though there is one really great scene towards the beginning of the movie. But it's more about the drama, now that Damien is an adult, played by Sam Neill, of all people. I'm a big fan of Jurassic Park, at least the original movie. I hate all the sequels, but the original movie I really love quite a bit. And seeing Sam Neill, of all people, so young, looking like some kind of relative of Mark Hamill, I swear to God they're related. After seeing this, I swear they're related the way they look. Sam Neill plays adult Damien in this movie, who is now the American ambassador for the UK, just like his father was, or his human adoptive father, Gregory Peck. And he's trying to take over a lot of positions within the government and also run Thorn Industries, which he inherited from Part 2 after everybody else are dead. And he is a mean, evil dude, but everybody around him doesn't really know that. But he's begun to build his Antichrist as the Antichrist following. He has a lot of people who follow him who do whatever he says and wants. I'm assuming they're the ones with the Mark of the Beast who are born with the Mark of the Beast, the 666 on their skin or in the back of their hair or anything like that. The way the Omen series kind of goes about the Mark of the Beast in that way. However, there is like a group of monks who are like priests that are trying to, after the auctioning of the knives from the original movie happened to fall into their hands somehow by the will of God, those monks decide to plan on how to assassinate Damien as the Antichrist. And I was totally, interested into this movie. Let me tell you, from beginning to end, I really enjoyed this. Sam Neill eats up every scene he shows up in. He is amazing in this. He is so good. I love him in Jurassic Park. This may be his best performance, in my personal opinion. I loved Sam Neill in this movie. Quite a surprise for me. Sam Neill is playing such an evil Damien in this movie, who doesn't even do as much. He just kind of sets people up against each other. He might tell somebody, like his following, his cult, to go do something for him, to accomplish goals and whatever. And dude, I'm going to tell you, some of the things they have to do in this movie that they never really show are horrific. Let me tell you, there is a lot of violence against children in this movie. And I'm going to tell you, that stuff, even though it's never shown to you, it's implied heavily with sound effects and so many other things that, dude, it's brutal. It really is sometimes. This was a fun watch. It's definitely above average in my opinion. The fact that anybody could put this at like a 5 out of 10 is kind of surprising to me, because I would lean more towards a 6, to be honest with you, on that type of scale. But I'll get to my rating at the end of the review. This is not good, or not as good, as Part 1 and Part 2, obviously. But it's definitely rewatchable. It's definitely a watchable movie. I can't believe people don't talk about the Omen movies more. I guess it's the religious element to it, I don't know. But I think it is a badass movie. It has some great stuff in here. Now, one thing that's kind of like a total misunderstanding, almost deliberately to be able to tell a different story from the Book of Revelation, that I thought was weird, but I thought was very unique for this film, and I've never heard anybody interpret the Bible this way or try to make a fictional story based around the Book of Revelation and the Antichrist tale with this idea. It really impressed me. Basically, there's like a side story in here about the Star of Bethlehem apparently happening with some scientists that are watching the space. And there's like 3 stars, I think, that collide and they create the Star of Bethlehem again. And it signifies to Sam Neill, in the middle of his panicked, restless sleep, that Jesus has come back, reborn as a baby. Like, not as the same baby he was before, but as a different type of baby. And that was like, what the hell? And then as I watched it, it's mostly like a reenactment of Herod, King Herod from back in the day. And Sam Neill basically commands his cult following to go door to door and find every baby in this particular area where they live to try to go hunt down any babies that were born between this time and this time on that date. I think it was like March 23rd or something, which is weird because I think, what is today's date? It'd be weird if today is March 21st. Oh, shit, that's weird. So he has a bunch of his cult following hunt down and kill babies that were born on that time, that particular night, from like 10 a.m. to 6 a.m. or something, who may be the reborn Jesus. And that was, again, I don't believe that, obviously. I don't think anybody who believes in the Bible believes that. But that was a very interesting way of telling a new version of the Book of Revelation for a mainstream horror audience. And I really thought that was well utilized for the film, that King Herod approach. That made Sam Neill even more evil. It made his henchman, who we kind of follow throughout the movie, who has recently had a baby, who may also be one of the possible Jesus Christ babies. It makes that whole setup with that man and his wife and the stress amongst their marriage and their new baby even more well realized. I thought all of that stuff was good. I thought the performances from everybody was good, not just Sam Neill. There's also a kid in here who's kind of the child of the love interest of Damien. Yeah, Damien's kind of got like a love interest lady who's like a journalist on TV. Very weird stare by that lady, by the way. She's always never breaking eye contact with the TV as she's on camera. Not in the movie, but like on her show that she does as a journalist. Very strange. She kind of puts a chill down my spine. She reminds me of that lady that plays the, she might even be the same lady, who plays the mom in Hellraiser. Anyway, I loved most of this. I really did. It's not the most super satisfying film like the original movie was. It's not as wild and zany as Part 2 was with all the slasher elements to it. And like I said, it kind of dropped the slasher elements. It's more about the drama surrounding Damien, his rise to power in the U.S., and kind of where he's going further into the U.S. and power. I don't think Omen 4 is going to maintain any of the quality that these first 3 movies had. So I'm a little nervous about going into that next. I'm going to start it in a few minutes after I make some lunch, but I don't know, man. I feel like this was supposed to be the beginning and the end of the Omen franchise. This clearly, to me, has that finale feel to it by the ending of it, and I really love that about it, despite it being nothing like what the Bible describes. But that doesn't hinder it for me. That was just an interesting way to retell the Book of Revelation to an audience, especially in the 80s, in 1981 in this case, who grew up in the 70s, who had heard the Bible over and over and over again, like my mom, for example. This was so satisfying in so many ways, and again, the baby stuff, if that freaks you out, it's not on screen, ever, which was probably the best way to shoot that, frankly. But the events of what are going on throughout this movie are horrific. There is some practical effects work in one particular scene towards the beginning involving a suicide that was not completely a suicide. I'm going to tell you, that scene, the effects used there were shocking. Dropped my jaw in a heartbeat. But most of the film doesn't have much blood to it. That's what was kind of surprising about this movie after what I saw in 1 and 2. Those films aren't the most gory movies ever, but 2 had some crazy shit in it too, like the elevator scene. So I expected more like that in this movie. It doesn't have all of that. It's a well-shot, almost on the verge of feeling and looking like a TV movie type of movie, but it was good. I enjoyed it. I thought the music was really good, just like all the Omen movies have had up to this point. I was very engaged, and a lot of that engagement comes from how devious and evil Sam Neill was, and how well written Damien is in this film as just an evil bastard. This was quite a surprise. I was not expecting much out of this movie. I expected it to drop the ball, but if we just had the original 3 movies, including this one, and said that is the Omen franchise, end all be all, no sequels, nothing, that would have been great. I would have been cool with that. This was a really good, solid finale for what they did for those first 3 movies. But now we have Part 4 that was a TV movie that I'm sure is going to suck ass. We have the remake, which I've only seen once back when it came out. It was the only one I ever saw before this marathon, like I said. And then I have The First Kill, the new one next week, that hopefully will be some kind of good. But let me tell you, again, Christian or not, if you haven't seen Omen 3, The Final Conflict, it has some really cool shit in here. Some really cool telling of Sam Neill as the Antichrist. If that sounds appealing to you, seeing Sam Neill play that role, dude, I'm telling you, watch the movie alone for that. You will enjoy it. But everything else, it's well made, it's well shot, the script is pretty solid for what it was, but this feels more like a Left Behind movie. It really does. There is no rapture or anything like that in here, but it has that feel. If you've seen like the old, what is it, Kirk Cameron, is that his name? I'm always bad about names. It feels like a Kirk Cameron Left Behind movie sometimes. And if you hate that, well, it's probably not going to be for you. But this one was really, really nice. I really enjoyed it. Despite, as a Christian, some of the stuff really hitting me in a certain way. Things that I picked up on being a Bible fan, rather than people who are not Bible fans, who know nothing about it, who probably wouldn't notice a lot of really cool details they added into here. I really loved that, and I really admired that about this movie, coming from my background and my beliefs. But anyway, when it comes to The Final Conflict, or Omen 3 Final Conflict, whatever this movie's supposed to be called, if I had to rate it on a 5-star basis, I would probably give it like a really high 3 out of 5 stars. Yeah, it's kind of meandering sometimes, but even that stuff was fun to watch because of Sam Neill and because of the people around him and how they're stressed about what he's going to think of them, what he might make them do. It was great. The King Herod stuff was great. I really loved a lot of this movie, to be honest with you. Very engaging, very cool, and if it was the last one, I would have been fine with that. But now we move on to Omen 4. But like I said, for right now, The Final Conflict, I would easily give a high 3 out of 5 stars. I really dug this, and I do recommend the series, at least the first 3, if you haven't seen them before. This was a blast, man. Very, very surprising movie. The quality of movies have changed so much over the years that, like, new stuff that's truly bad, that truly sucks balls, that stuff doesn't get the love that old movies that are considered bad really deserved, you know? So many movies now are so bland and generic and terribly made, and there's no question about that. The people are in denial because they haven't seen good movies in so long, that movies like this are considered bad back in the day, and it kind of surprises me a little bit when I go back and engage with some of these things, like some of the Phantasm sequels, for example. But yeah, Final Conflict, definitely a big recommendation from yours truly. I liked it a lot. I thought it was pretty cool for what it had to do. Anyway, have you seen Final Conflict? What do you think about it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Let me know everything you think about this movie, the previous films, the future movies down in the comments section down below. Are you excited for First Omen to come out next week? I'm excited for it. I hope it's good. My mom and I will probably go see it because my wife doesn't watch horror, so it'll probably just be my mom and I. But hopefully it'll be good. I'm hoping it'll be good and not reinvigorate the franchise, just be a good entry into the franchise. But everything is a series nowadays, as many of you know. So we'll see. Anyway, thank you all for watching, guys. God bless you all. Catch you later, and goodbye.